everybody. Welcome to Enterprise Bank Presents Dollars and Cents. This is Ken LaValle from Enterprise Bank, along with my co-host, Prima Nagathan, my colleague at Enterprise Bank. And today, for our episode today, we have a very special guest from Enterprise Bank. Her name is Kira Morehouse. She is a bank officer and a digital marketing specialist at Enterprise Bank. Kira, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so happy and excited to be here. So
tell us about our special guest before we get into the episode today.
Our special guest who is tagging along, or maybe I'm tagging along behind it, is our 30 that is traveling around all the communities we serve, celebrating Enterprise Bank's 30th year of doing business.
Wow.
So earlier today it was at the Lowell Fire Department. We're posting all these photos on our social media and tagging the different places it shows up. So we just invite people to stay tuned.
Well, that's great. Yeah. That's beautiful. I love it. Yeah. I love it 30. I wish I was 30.
Kira, thank you for coming today. And I know social media is very near and dear to you, and it's something that you're passionate about. So tell us what you do with social media and what you do at the bank for us.
Sure. I've been with Enterprise Bank for 3 years now. I actually started in April of 2015. And prior to that, I had worked for about 10 years at several different marketing agencies doing mostly digital marketing during that time frame. I've also, have experience in other types of marketing like film and traditional media, but I really have always had a passion for the social media side and the web side, especially since when I began my career, that's when Facebook really had just kind of opened up for marketers to be doing, business on there. So I've evolved along with it, and I love it.
Yeah. So Kira, as you know, our communities, we're very proud to have a lot of small business owners, of varying size. And now with social media just being so accessible and affordable, I would think that a lot of small businesses are relying on social media to really get the name of their business out there. So can you talk to us about what are some of the good guidelines for small business, how they can really enhance using social media? And with that also comes some responsibility of maintaining a social media page or a site. So can you
Absolutely.
talk about that?
I will say that we work with a lot of small businesses as a commercial bank, and also we offer a lot of free seminars in the spring and the fall on digital marketing through Enterprise Bank's nonprofit collaborative, which is I've been fortunate to be a part of those series, and they're always published on the bank's website. So I just invite people to tune in to those because you can come in person and get in-person tips, and there's no cost to attend.
And it's open to?
It is open to nonprofits, but every now and then we do see some small businesses or people will attend and take the material because we do some nice packets.
And you don't necessarily have to be a customer of the bank?
No, you do not have to be a customer of the bank. So sometimes people will attend, take the packet because they know somebody who could use the information. And then sometimes, I will offer tips to people on a case-by-case, one-on-one basis too. So I'm open to doing that. But as far as for today, just some basic guidelines, I think a good starting point for anybody like a small business or even for your own personal branding efforts, you don't have to be large or small or any specific size, but just being aware of all the places that your business is already listed. Because honestly, there could be listings created that you might not have created yourself, and just doing a basic audit and inventory of those places. And then kind of taking inventory of like places that you might want to be and have some control over your online presence, setting up profiles. And I always recommend as the first starting points is to look at like the most used sites like Facebook or Twitter, Instagram. If you have capacity to do YouTube videos, YouTube is a great place to be posting content. And also Google. The number one place, honestly, if you're not going to do social media marketing, is to keep the digital side in mind and claim a page on Google. Like Google has business pages, and you can set up your listing for free, and just that way people can see that you're out there. People can actually leave reviews now, so you have to kind of monitor it and make sure that you're responding to anybody who might be commenting there. But it's just such a great way to be visible and in front of people.
Sure.
So those are sort of the advantages of having a social media access, which is a lot of times free. And Is it sometimes a paid service when you're owning a business? How does that typically work?
Well, the reason that we like to talk about digital marketing, especially for the smaller businesses and nonprofits, is because it is such a great way. If you have limited budget and limited time resources, there is no cost to set up a page on these social media sites. There's always that rumor that's been floating around that it might happen one day, but these sites have been around since 2004 or around that time frame, and people are flocking to them and spending, I know on at least one of them, the stats is like 8 hours a week or an hour a day on social media. And as a brand, you want to be there not just selling to people, but also just to show like who you are as a brand, your culture, your brand identity, so that you can connect with people who are spending time on these sites on a more human level. So yeah, there's no cost to do it, and I think the real cost is maybe the time it takes to do the actual content, and also the time it takes to get yourself up to speed with what your goals are, and also just making sure that you're taking time to monitor those sites and the interactions that are going on there on a regular basis.
I think my general observation has been, especially with the small businesses, there's more presence on social media than, maybe sometimes maintaining a website could be a little bit more strenuous on the cost side of things. And are you seeing that shift in paper advertising and websites to this? And is there a good and bad to that?
There's pros and cons to each, and it's ideal as a marketer, as taking an integrated approach. You don't want to put all of your, eggs in one basket. If you can afford to be in print and even radio, television, all of that, definitely go for it. But if you have those limited resources, like you said, investing in a website is important, but there's even free resources to help you set up a website other than the time cost involved, and you need a level of expertise to get started, but they've made it very accessible with the different options that are out there. So I would say definitely if you can do a website, great. If you can't do that, at the very least you can do a social media page, and that is, honestly, people are going to look for you where they can find you. So just making sure you're in the right places at the right time for when someone is like, they've heard your name and they want to see, hey, what is this business all about?
So I think depending on the type of business and the type of audience you have, it may be a different format that you can actually advertise or make your business known to the community.
Yeah, it depends on all of those things that you just mentioned. And honestly, you can do a lot for free, and it's worthwhile to take the time to set it up. But if you want to take it to the next level, there's all of these sites offer advertising opportunities where you do a post and anybody who sees you can kind of get an idea of who you are. But then say you have specific products or services that are targeted, you post it so everybody can see it, but then you really drive it with advertising dollars to make sure that that post is not just being posted one time, it's showing up in people's news feeds where they might not visit your page, but it's showing up to them multiple times with good frequency with the same message for like your designated time frame that you want to run the ads. So it's always about reaching the right people, the right audience with the right message at the right time. And I know Enterprise Bank, if you follow us, we're just posting a lot of fun, community-oriented things on a regular basis, which makes my job amazing, and I get to kind of amplify the things that are already happening at the different branches since we have 24 branch locations. But we do run paid advertising so that we are able to reach people with products and services without turning them off, because not everybody wants to be sold to all the time.
I know Kiara has been very good about sharing our show through our bank's Facebook page. Lowell Telecommunications will post our YouTube video of our show, The Dollars and Cents, and you're very good about posting them on, because we do want to share the information that we talk about here, which I think is so beneficial and crucial from a dollars and cents standpoint, from a safety standpoint, from just general financial safety awareness standpoint. And I know you've shared our video, so thank you for helping us with that.
And they get good engagement too. People love to see, and we know that sometimes you've done topics like elder care, cybersecurity. So we'll post it for everybody to see, but sometimes, like for the elder care one, we've tagged other organizations in the community who actually serve those populations so that they can share it too.
Now, when you say they get good engagement, how do you know that?
The engagement. So that's the other part of my job. It's not just a one-way communication. We like to optimize and make sure we're posting content that people like to see. So we keep track of everything that's getting the most amount of clicks or comments or shares. And that's the analytics side of it.
Right.
And we run reports on a regular basis. We like to share those reports with our senior management from time to time to let them know that there is a good return on the time and any resources that are being invested in those efforts. Yeah.
So as a security officer for the bank and as a security specialist for the bank, we're always thinking about, how people should be aware of certain things. So now we talked a lot about how social media in general is very beneficial. But with that also comes a sense of responsibility, because it can be a challenge managing a Facebook page or a social media site in general. So, I'm sure managing the bank's Facebook page, sometimes you're coming across things that may need to be addressed right away, posts that need to be taken down, then we go into the whole malware and all of that. But to kind of quickly talk a little bit about, Kara, when you're managing a Facebook or a social media page, what are some of the do's and don'ts and awareness?
And the nice thing about that is when it comes to different types of businesses, every type of business is going to have its different concerns for what industry they're in. With us being a financial institution, I will say and give credit to one of the first places that I ever worked as a professional marketer was an agency that dealt with dozens of credit unions and banks and financial institutions, and it was just the right timing when social media marketing became an option. So I was able to see from the very beginning the do's and don'ts, and we became a really good resource for people to come and find us and ask to launch their pages and presence because we had good guidelines in place. So the banks, especially Enterprise Bank, has some privacy and security guidelines in place that we follow as far as our digital marketing efforts. And that being said, we offer tips on a regular basis to people because it's a two-way street, really. The bank is going to do everything they can to keep your information safe, but you as the user have to be aware that even if you're not interacting with us and our brand, there are disclosures that when you sign up on these sites, definitely don't skip over them, read them, and just make sure you're fully aware that when you post content, it is actually being owned by that platform in many cases. And it just helps you to make better choices about the information and the types of things you're sharing when you're fully aware and hopefully have a good understanding of those disclosures. And we definitely discourage people, even aside from social media, but on our website as well. Do not send anything that is personal account information or anything like a credit card, because as secure as we make our presence on the web, in general, there's always a risk. So you have to be a partner in minimizing the risk.
We're constantly making our viewers aware of, protecting their information. And when you talk about like a public forum such as a social media, it's out there, and even if you delete a comment, that doesn't mean it's gone forever. It's stored somewhere. That information is accessible. It can be misused. And people watch, whether it's a Facebook, everybody gets to see it. So I think people have to be mindful whether you're someone that's posting a comment or whether you're owning the social media site, is to be mindful of things that you should not post that could cause some harm, whether to the business or to the individual. So account numbers, like you said, is a big thing, or getting too much personal into the situation. Maybe put a comment to say, I need someone to contact me regarding a particular situation, and then have a conversation in person.
Yes, even through email, we don't accept that kind of information. So I would say, even if you think, oh, I'm sending a private message through this platform, it's not on a public page, please just don't do it.
And I know you talked about disclosures, where these social media sites are constantly updating and evolving. I think it's very important for people to really take a look at the privacy settings, because they're changing.
That's true.
Weekly sometimes.
Yes.
So reviewing what type of a setting you have and who can view the information, I think it's almost a 24/7 job responsibility.
It's a
to
hot
look
button
at it.
issue for sure, and it's always been out there. But the more that this whole industry evolves, the more it becomes, at the forefront. So like you said, just making sure you're on there for fun. The reasons you're on there is to connect with people that you're friends with, your family, people you don't see every day. It enhances your relationships that you have in person to connect with them online. But just being aware that if you comment on a public page because your friend commented on it or it's a photo of your friend, especially if it's a business page, it's not just that person who's going to see it, it's everybody who likes that page. And if it's a paid advertising, I know sometimes our posts reach anywhere between 60,000 to like 100,000 people at a time. So I am constantly, and others on my team are monitoring anything that comes up, and there are times when we will hide comments. It's very rare that we will delete something, but you know, we have guidelines. If it's a personal thing that is going to be risk, we will delete it. Or you know, if it's something that breaks the guidelines from a harm perspective, we don't accept people doing anything behavior-wise that is going to be harmful.
Yeah, you know, it's interesting from a law enforcement perspective. Two things come to mind regarding this discussion. One is the admonition or the suggestion or the really the warning that you do not post things on your social media platform about you being away on vacation photos while you're gone away, and you're basically inviting people to know that you're not home.
It's true.
And you know your house is vulnerable to be broken into. A second issue is in the recruitment of law enforcement personnel, police officers. Those people who are doing background investigations are very thoroughly examining the social media pages of potential candidates. And they're looking at what they're posting and what they've said and what pictures appear about their behavior before they hire them, because if they see that this potential officer recruit is doing something that is not indicative of being a good police officer, that's basically an indication that that individual will not be hired. They are allowed from joining the police department. And I know recently a law enforcement person in the Commonwealth is under suspension for making comments on his social media platform, Facebook, whatever it was, that was inappropriate, and those comments were were basically uncovered, and because those comments were inflammatory and improper, he's under suspension and under investigation.
Yes, and you know, I've always said to that point, you know, don't do anything that you would be ashamed of your grandmother or your mom to see. Like, don't post things that are going to come back to bite you. And hopefully, you know, they're not going to be doing that kind of thing anyway, but it's just stop and think about it. I know from a personal perspective and a professional perspective, like Facebook for me started out as a way to connect with friends and family. So I have my profile that I post pictures of like my kids, or I'm connected with parents that they go to, you know, of kids that my kids go to school with. And that's my personal profile. And then I have a professional profile. And you know, Facebook doesn't really, you know, they don't like it when you set up multiple pages, but for my job, where I handle a lot of customer facing interactions, I have a professional profile that I will interact with.
That's a very good tip.
People on.
Separate.
And I enjoy interacting with everybody, but you know, sometimes you want to have boundaries actually. So and that's perfectly okay.
Why would Facebook be concerned about two profiles?
I think it's with even like email, you don't want to have multiple profiles. You don't want to have people create multiple profiles.
I'm sure that they have.
But why? Why would be that? Why would that be an issue?
Membership
I could tell you because, again, from a marketing perspective, if I'm looking at how many people are on my platform, what the potential audience is, how many people are clicking on my content. I want to make sure that's a real person and not somebody who's setting up a fake account. And if you see fake accounts, you can report them to Facebook. So I hope nobody reports mine, but because it's a real account, to be quite honest. It's tied to my work email. But at the same time, there are times when I've seen friends of mine where you know it's not them, and you know that they have a profile, and somebody has actually taken their information and set up a second profile. And it's very alarming. And Facebook has been very good, and other social platforms, not just to focus on that one, where you can report when you see that happening, and then they will investigate it. And I've seen that page taken down when that has happened multiple times to people I know in my network. So.
We should, I think, we have a lot more to talk about on the safety awareness side of things, and we'll take a quick break, and we'll come back to this very interesting conversation.
This program is proudly sponsored by Enterprise Bank, a full-service commercial institution serving 17 communities. Enterprise Bank helps create successful businesses, meaningful jobs, strong, vibrant communities, and opportunities and prosperity for our customers, shareholders, and employees. To speak to an Enterprise advisor, call 978-459-9000 or visit our website, enterprisebanking.com. Enterprise, an independent bank with community at its core. Member FDIC.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to Enterprise Bank Presents Dollars and Cents. We're talking today with Prima Nagathan, Security Officer at Enterprise Bank, and of course, Kara Morehouse, a digital marketing specialist.
And her guest.
Yes.
And her guest, the 30.
Can't forget
Yeah.
about
30
our
years, Enterprise Bank, indeed. So, we were just discussing something that I became aware of through my wife and one of her co-workers who purchased through social media tickets for a concert in Boston. And when they arrived at the show, they found out the tickets were fake, they were fraudulent. And it obviously was very discomforting for the people who thought they were going to see this show. What are your suggestions or recommendations regarding that?
Definitely be mindful. There are so many things that have popped up in recent years because, there's Craigslist, but then, some of these sites like Facebook have their own yard sale groups and these pages where you keep an eye out, like a classified section.
Right.
Definitely don't purchase tickets through those unless you are 100% sure you can trust that person, like verify it's a friend of a friend even, because you might run into trouble. I know as a parent I have met people, to sell like old toys or buy a bike from someone, but I make sure I do it in a public place.
Yeah.
And I know you can go to a police station and meet up
Yes.
and that kind of thing.
Right.
So just being aware of safety, because people can pretend to be people they're not.
Right.
And also they can have ill intentions, especially in the case that you mentioned about the tickets
Yeah.
for the concert.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
and Kara, we've also worked with customers, whether they're a business owner or trying to sell something on Craigslist or their own social media page. They're typically contacted by somebody, whether it's local within the United States or even international, showing an interest in either wanting to sign up for their service or their product. And we have seen where they've received bogus checks. So that due diligence, making sure you know who you're providing the service to, I think is going to be key. They've had email conversations and they said, oh yeah, we are very much interested in buying this equipment from you. And they receive a check in the mail, the check looks great, they bring it to the bank, and very quickly, they're sending either their product or maybe there was, they, under the pretext of the check was made for the wrong amount. Can you please just wire back
Right.
the remaining
difference,
amount
yeah.
and the difference? And a lot of times it's a scam, and unfortunately it has become so common. It's on the news. You hear it on the media sites about being aware, but unfortunately people do fall victim to it because they're looking to make a good business deal, and
Sure.
things
Right.
look so good. And we always refer to if it looks too good to be true.
Right.
Yeah,
Don't, but
and
the
maybe
tickets are being offered for like a good price.
Don't deal with
Yeah.
checks. Don't give your personal account information.
Yeah.
Maybe cash only.
Right.
Meet the person at a public place. I mean, try as much as you can to minimize the risk. I would say don't deal with it at all, but I mean, realistically speaking, this is, the way that things have evolved where people are doing more transactions. So it's just a matter of being informed and knowing like what the risks are, like
Yeah.
you said, Prima.
Yeah, yeah. And as a bank, we always want to tell this to our people that are listening to our show is, when in doubt, bring it to your bank. Go to your local law enforcement
Sure.
and talk to them about whether a check that you received. And looking at a check in this day and age, as long as it has an account number, routing number, it's very difficult to just look at the check and say if it's a good check or
Right.
a bad check.
It's
A lot
impossible.
of research has to be done, whether it's contacting the bank
Right.
or just because you deposit the check into your financial institution doesn't mean the next day the funds are made available to you. That doesn't necessarily mean the check is good.
Correct.
So you are in the customer or the person is in best situation to really know what's going on, and not just then talk to your bank professional and say, hey, I received this, and this is what this is what was circumstances. Can you help me look into this
and
one?
don't feel like you're bothering anybody.
No.
You're not putting anyone to any trouble. The bank is there to advocate on your behalf.
Absolutely.
We have a great team at Enterprise, I know,
Sure
who
do.
will send you information.
Right.
I work with them and share monthly tips about.
And don't be
Yeah.
embarrassed. Sometimes people are embarrassed.
Right.
Like, oh my God, is this check real or not? Will I look like a dummy if I try to say, is this? Don't be embarrassed, because it's happening so much. And then even if you do fall prey to something like this, make sure you report it.
Right.
Don't be embarrassed that you were taken advantage of, because it's happening all the time.
Yes.
All the time.
So knowledge is power.
Knowledge
This
is power.
something
We
that
like to
we
say that,
have
yeah.
said that a lot,
Right.
and the information that you gave, I thought today was so powerful.
Absolutely was.
So
Yeah.
hopefully our audience really enjoyed this topic, and if there's anything, they can certainly contact our bank for more information.
Absolutely.
Glad to help. All right.
Yes.
Well, thanks for tuning in for another episode of Enterprise Bank Presents Dollars and Cents. On behalf of Prima Nagathan and our guest, Kira Morehouse, thank you. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.